still after 30 or 35 years, he brings up his rookie year going into former teammates' room and seeing coke and weed and women. My point is, why in the hell did he want to bring that up? What's that got to do with anything? I mean, if you want to call somebody a snitch, that's a damn snitch right there. When that so-called documentary is about one person, basically, and he has the last word on what's going to be put out there. What's going to be put out there? It's not a documentary. It's his narrative of what happened in the last quote-unquote dance. But, you know, we know who was there as teammates that about 90% of it was, I don't know if I can say it on air, but BS in terms of the realness of it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. We have a beef happening, and we are going to get to the bottom of this. That's why we had to bring in the big guns. One, Michael Greenberg, who is in Chicago. Mike, you were covering this in the locker rooms. You were just a young buck, so can't wait to get your perspective. Of course, Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose. Guys, let's get right into it. Horace Grant questioning the accuracy of this docuseries, obviously because it's coming from Michael Jordan's perspective. Stephen A., I'll start with you. What's going on here with MJ and Grant?
Well, it's not really about MJ and Grant. It seems to be about a host of Chicago Bulls or former Chicago Bulls and MJ, because they resent the fact that the documentary was supposed to be about the 1997-98 Bulls when it's turned out to be essentially what we will term it as the Jordan documentary. We all know that, but there's a specific reason for that, and I think the players need to understand this. Nobody would give a damn about The Last Dance if Michael Jordan wasn't the guy that was speaking about it. If he wasn't a part of it, it would not have mattered. That is the reality of the situation. So yes, it might not be a quote-unquote documentary series from a conventional perspective, but make no mistake about it, it is from Jordan's perspective, and Jordan's perspective is what matters to the mass majority of folks out here. Horace Grant and others appear to have a problem with it based on what has been disseminated. Now let's break some of this stuff down. When you talk about Horace Grant's relationship with Michael Jordan, of course I spoke to Michael Jordan yesterday. He says he harbors no animosity, holds no grudge against Horace Grant, but clearly there were issues in the past. He pointed to 1993 season following the Olympics in Barcelona, the original Dream Team. When they came back from there, Phil Jackson usually had two-a-days. When they had, even though he usually had two-a-days, he said that Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan only had to go through one-a-days because obviously they have participated in the Olympics in Barcelona. And Horace Grant had a problem with that, alluding to the fact that, you know what, there's different rules for different folks, there's double standards, and he didn't feel it was right. We saw on the docuseries where Will Perdue was highlighting how Horace Grant felt like he wasn't appreciated enough, and he had a problem with that. So there is some residue from that, which Michael Jordan acknowledged, because you said, as he said to me, you could see it on the docuseries when Will Perdue was talking about it, along with others. But he doesn't understand where this is coming from, and Michael Jordan's mentality is that he's been telling nothing but the truth from his perspective. If anybody's got a problem with it, so be it. But that's his truth. Now let me say this. We've got Craig Hodges on the record, all right, and we respect the hell out of Craig Hodges as black men. We appreciate what he stands for, but approaching Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan on the court before the 1991 finals to call for a boycott ain't exactly the wisest thing to do. That's number one. Number two, we got Scottie Pippen, who we love and revere and respect, one of the all-time greats. He hasn't received enough appreciation, but it was his quote that he said he wasn't going to F up his summer, okay, before the 1997-98 season, and that ended up him missing the first 35 games of that final season because he was a bit truculent towards the Chicago Bulls organization, who never appreciated him. Plus, he was on the record stating that the 1.8 seconds left, I probably would have done it again, meaning not check back into the game. Almost 30 years later, he says, I probably would have done the same thing over again. So those are his words that are indicting him. And in the case of Horace Grant, I was not covering the NBA at that particular moment in time, Greeny and Max. But I will tell you, I started covering the NBA in 1996, all right, in an official capacity, and I was a beat writer for the Philadelphia 76ers from 1997 on. Here's the deal. everybody in the media, you can ask Wilbon and everybody, we had all heard the same thing that Jordan said about Horace Grant with Sam Smith. We ain't casting any aspersions on Sam Smith, who's an exceptional NBA reporter for years. Sam Smith is great. He's never revealed his sources, nor should he. We don't know. But the belief was widely that it was Horace Grant as one of the people who were talking to him. So all of those things getting taken into consideration, we look at these Bulls, and the bottom line is there's Jordan and there's everybody else. And everybody else
of course
has a problem with Jordan, period.